Hi everybody, this is Denny with my YouTube channel, and joining me today is Latriza from Southern California, and we met on Facebook, and I was very impressed with the things that she posted on her Facebook page, and I think we met through Stillness in the Storm initially, and so I've been behind the scenes and elsewhere, kind of very supportive of some of the things she's been doing and some of the things she's been sharing. So she agreed to do this interview with me, so thank you so much. And
Thank you
it's
for
really
having me.
nice to meet you in person, almost in person now. We
Right.
get to we get to exchange faces on other than Facebook in a video format, so that's pretty cool. We almost was able to do a an in-person video because she's down not too far away from where they had contact in the desert. But by the time evening rolled around, I had to get back home. I was on my motorcycle and I was kind of tired and everything. So she agreed to do the Skype interview. So thanks so much, Latrice.
Thank you for having me. I
All right,
appreciate
all
it.
right. So we had a little bit of a conversation beforehand, and she's talking about her story and where she came from, and I would just like you to, kind of tell us about that and who you are and what you're doing these days, and just let us get to know you better.
Okay, well, I live in Southern California, and I'll just start where I am now, and then I'll
Yeah,
backtrack
yeah,
to, my childhood and all that stuff. So I live
yeah.
in Southern California. I'm, a middle-aged woman. I'm an IT professional. I've been in the IT industry for 20 plus years. I'm a mother. I have two children. My daughter is 26, and my son will be 14. So there's that, the most important part of my story right now. So I've been in this IT job for a while. I actually started that job. I was homeless and I needed a job. So this was the first place that I went to, and I just ended up having the skill set that they were looking for, and I was able to work my way and train and get the education to have, the position that I have now. So I'm pretty fortunate there. Live a really nice lifestyle. I was born in Los Angeles, and my parents were kind of caught up into the whole 70s craze of like partying and drugs, and there's a whole history behind that, how the CIA brought drugs into certain areas and targeted certain groups. So I do think that we were targeted for whatever reason, because when I look back at my family history, like we owned property, we weren't slaves, like we owned like there were certain Native American people of color that owned like property. So I have pictures of like my great great grandparents like on their farms and on their land. But somewhere along the line, drugs was introduced, and my parents and their parents got caught up in this lifestyle. So like if you look at both sides of my family, like my mother and father's side, there's so many like drug overdoses and people who are like alcoholics, and it's really tragic and very dark. Both my mother and grandmother died of drug overdoses. My grandmother died of a drug overdose when I was probably 23, so maybe 23, 24 years ago. And then my
She was
mother
in
died.
L.A. too. Your grandmother was in L.A.
She was in
too.
the Bay Area.
Oh, she was in the Bay Area,
Yeah, she was in the Bay Area. So I've kind of lived between LA and the Bay Area my whole life.
the
I
East
was
Bay.
raised in the Bay Area.
Oh, really? Where?
Yeah, Richmond.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Ah,
I
okay.
graduated from El Cerrito High School, so I'm a Bay Area,
Ah, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
girl.
my,
But
my
I was
great
born in.
grandfather lived in Point Richmond.
Oh, cool. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Richmond, which was, there's a mixture, but I grew up in the poor part.
Yeah.
So, and I don't regret like my upbringing. Even though there was a lot of tragedy, I did have like a strong sense of community and a lot of support. Um,
And you were different from the rest of your family insofar as that.
well, yeah. So I've always been very like analytical. I've always been like a thinker, and my mind is always like to the point where I need to like turn it off. That's kind of how I found yoga. So my mind is always like processing stuff. So I've always been good with like electronics and numbers. I've always been like a reader. I would read like, because back in the day we used to have like encyclopedias. So I would read like all encyclopedias and like medical books and like stuff like that. I was always like a bookworm, and I got called nerd and bookworm, all that kind of stuff. Brainiac, stuff like that in high school. So I don't know. I guess maybe source or whatever, spiritual belief that you have, that I got a lot of gifts. So I've always been like talented and smart, but I was born into this situation where it was really dark. So it's kind of helped me in a way pull away from that. And I live like a really nice lifestyle now, but I'm very estranged from my family. Like I don't really deal with my family a lot, which hurts. Like I do want to have like a close relationship, but they're still kind of caught up in that lifestyle and they've had a hard time breaking those chains. And then the relationship turns into like an enabler where I have to come in and be like a savior. And that's not my purpose. Like I'm not here to like rescue people and save them. Like I like to empower people, but I don't want to be an enabler. I think that's dark. So until I figure out a way to be more of an empower and less of an enabler, I kind of pull myself away. I just don't have the skill set to really like deal with it. So it may not be the healthiest thing, but that's just kind of how I dealt with it.
Sounds healthy to me.
And maybe I still have some judgment with myself, and I'm still working on that because I do kind of feel like maybe I should do better, but right now this is where I'm at, so yeah. I don't know.
Well, your first obligation is to your kids, right?
What?
I said your first obligation
You
is
broke
to
up. What did you say?
I said
what did you say?
Your first obligations to your kids right now, right? I mean,
for years I felt like that because I got pregnant with my daughter at 19, so I was a young mom. But that kind of gave me like a lot of determination, and I put like a lot into her and into my kids. Now that I'm older, my first thing is myself. And then I kind of give after I give to myself. Like I've kind of learned after like getting sick and going through depression and all of that to take care of me first. And I think as a woman especially, we're so nurturing and givers, and we want to like take care of our kids and take care of our husband, take care of all of this stuff, and then we end up depleted and we don't have anything for ourselves. And then you're giving from a place where you feel like resentment, like, you know what I'm saying? So I think now that I'm older and I've failed, I kind of know that I need to really like fill myself up and make sure that I'm in a good place and I'm whole before I deal with other people, even my kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you came out of that not really being very similar to the rest of the people in your family, and then you got interested in all this like extraterrestrial, spiritual yoga, the crystal singing bowls, and like so. I mean, for an analytical person to go into that arena also seems like it could be a very interesting story.
So as far as like the spiritual side, I've always had these weird spiritual experiences. Even as a child, I would wake up and see like figures, like images of like, I guess it was like an ET or like a spirit or something. So I've always had these weird like contact experiences. I've seen like crafts and stuff too. So it kind of fit like naturally. It is a natural progression for me, but I was raised Jehovah's Witness, so that's a whole nother part of that.
Oh, wow.
So my mother was on drugs and my grandmother was on drugs. So my great grandmother raised me in Richmond. I was born in LA and ended up in Richmond with her because my mother lost custody of me because she was getting high and partying and doing her thing. There's no judgment. That's what she was doing.
Yeah.
So I ended up with my great grandmother, who I love, and she was a Jehovah's Witness.
Richmond.
In Richmond. And I think that also contributed to me being so like smart, because I read the Bible and like all that Jehovah's Witness stuff from like the age of 5. And it was pushed on me and I liked it. It was a nice community and all that stuff. But there was a part of me that knew it wasn't for me. Like I just kind of went along with it because that's what I was, the environment that I was in, and it was cool. Like it wasn't anything negative. So I just kind of played along, but I knew it wasn't for me. I've always kind of been interested in weird stuff, like people would say. That was like naturally, I was more into like weird stuff. So when I got older, I would like go to psychics and just kind of play around with that kind of stuff. But I had this fear element because I was raised Jehovah's Witness, because they say like everything is bad, like everything is like demonic or Satan worship, or you know what I'm saying. So like if you go into like yoga or get like
meditate,
meditate, like meditation. It's like you're opening yourself up to spirits, and you're gonna get possessed, like all of this. So I had to like remove all of that conditioning from years of being, in the Jehovah's Witness environment. So Yeah, I started yoga officially right after my divorce. So, like about 2006, I started practicing Dahn yoga, which is it's a form of it's based out of South Korea, and the founder is Ilchi Lee, and it's like a combination of Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation, and Taoism.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me to go from that kind of Christian background, which I left a long time ago, but it's still like once you're in that kind of brainwashed environment, you really have to like go through years of like deprogramming yourself and like not judging yourself. And then you're ostracized. So like if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you leave, nobody talks to you. So like that's a whole nother like emotional. So when I started doing that Dahn yoga and like meditating and stuff, I was like, should I be doing this? Or, like, but I instantly felt like a change in my body. Like my back was hurting and like stuff started feeling better. And I liked it. And then I was getting good at it and they wanted me to do like the teacher training. And I was like, I don't know. Like that's when I kind of like 10 years ago, it was kind of like presented to me to like become a yoga teacher. And I was like, So it kind of, just planted a seed, but I didn't really take it too seriously. And I just started experimenting with different types like gym yoga, Bikram yoga, hatha yoga, just different styles of yoga over the years. And just enjoying my own practice and just having fun and not taking it too seriously. And then I ended up moving from the LA area to where I am now. I'm near the Inland Empire, close to where the contact at the desert location. Yeah. So I started Ashtanga yoga at this studio because they're an Ashtanga-based studio, and I instantly loved it because they did everything in Sanskrit, and I don't know, I just felt like an instant connection. And then I was like, now I want to become a yoga teacher. So I was really determined at that point to do it. And then a couple of years later, I signed up. And here I am. I'm a yoga teacher. And
so you have classes once a week, or is it more frequently than that?
When I first started teaching, the studio went through this transition and they had like all of these openings for teaching. So I was teaching like 15 classes a week and just like a crazy schedule.
Plus
now I have it down
job?
to one day a week. Plus my full-time job.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're down to one class a week?
Now I'm down to 1 day a week.
Oh, 1 day a week.
So there's still, 1 day a week. And I'm kind of playing around in addition to my full time.
Wow.
So right now, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm trying not to do it. I'm trying to like keep it more balanced so that I can have my own practice. Because I practice, I have people that I practice with and they help me grow spiritually and all of that. So I think it's like now that I've been teaching a year, it's more important for me to have my own practice than it is for me to teach. So that's kind of where I'm trying to find that balance where I don't teach too much because I think I did too much in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And it was just because I was excited and I was passionate and all of that. Yeah. So now I want to be more balanced. So I'm just trying to like keep it at a level that's not too much.
So is your son and daughter interested in yoga too?
My daughter is very interested in yoga. Yeah. She actually wants to do like the yoga teacher programming. My son is not into yoga at all. He's he thinks yoga is like for women. So he's kind of like his dad.
Okay.
In that.
So he's more into like sports and stuff or yeah?
He's into martial arts. Oh. So I got him into martial arts when he was probably 4, and the studio that we went to, they did meditation and stuff with the kids. So he understands like meditation from a small age.
What kind of martial arts?
Karate.
Oh, okay. All right. He still does that?
Yeah, karate. No, he's kind of more into soccer now.
Oh, soccer. Okay.
Like he still is a member of the dojo, and I want him to go back, but he's 14. He's going to high school, so he's kind of like into girls, and it's not like the girls are into him because he wears like a soccer uniform to school, and they're like, "Oh, he's a soccer player." Being a karate, not really as cool as being like a soccer star. So hopefully he'll find his way back to it. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Well, like you say,
it's 14, up to him. Like
it's a good time in life to experiment, and to try different stuff and see where it fits. Yeah, that's cool. So and you
But
also
I can't like
go ahead.
I can occasionally get him to do like one yoga class, like to stretch out, because his hamstrings are like really tight. So I can like get him to do like maybe 30 minutes of yoga to like stretch out his hamstrings or something like that. But like, he's not into it like me and my daughter. And my daughter's into it, but not like I am. Like, I'm like the extreme yoga in my family, and my daughter's like the middle, and my son is like no. So.
Okay, all right. So and then you also got into singing bowls.
I got into the singing bowls. That was really interesting. How did I get into the singing bowls?
Integratron?
So when I did, no, it was before, because you told me about the Integratron after, it was like last year,
Right.
right after I did my teacher training. So I think when I was concluding my teacher training, I was like doing like my final or the interview with the owner of the studio, and she was like, I want you to do your class and do singing bowls at the end. And I think I was seeing an Ayurveda doctor, and she was recommending that I do singing bowls. So it kind of happened like, I think my Ayurveda doctor is the one who told me about it. So she wanted me to do the bowls and like put it on my stomach for like health purposes, like the vibration. And so once I started doing the bowls, I was like, I really like this. And then the studio kind of encouraged it. And then I went to this sound bath. We have this salt cave where they do sound baths. And Yeah, so that's I went to that. It was like my first official sound bath, and they had like crystal bowls there. And I was like, wow, like these are really like cool. And they were like, we're selling them. So I bought like 3. And then I went back like a week later and bought like 3 more. So I've been like, so that kind of like got me started with like the crystal bowls and really interested in like doing it.
And those are the ones that look like frosted glass, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And then you told me about the Integratron. I think a couple of other people told me about the Integratron also. So I was always, wanting to check that out as well.
So you went up there and did that too?
I did that maybe January of this year.
How was that?
That was amazing. It was, I mean, even the drive there, because you went out, you've been out here lately. So it looks different after the rain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things are a little different now. I don't know what happened. There's been some type of major shift. We all know that, at least for me.
Yeah, no.
Like, we were in this drought and everything was like dead, and like now everything is like alive. Like the mountains are like snow capped, and like everything just looks different. It's just more vibrant and more alive. So I don't know, driving there, the scenery was extremely beautiful with the mountains and everything, coming to life. And then when I got there, the energy is amazing there, because it's like a vortex. There's some type of underground river. And then there's that, I don't know if it's like a boulder or...
Yeah, the big rock.
The big rock.
Yeah.
So it's like a holy place, like Native Americans, and it has all this energy there. You can feel it, just the land. But then the actual, building, they have like UFOs there and little alien characters and stuff. But it's just a cool place. I like the way that it's built, the dome. The sound is very acoustic. So if you're standing on one side of the Integratron and you say something, like whisper something, the people on the other end can hear it. So it's pretty amazing. There's no metal. It's all wood. I don't understand how they did that. So yeah, it's
and the bottom floor is like a little museum where you could see the whole George Van Tassel story of how he was met and taught. And this is a long time ago. I mean, this is like the inception of this whole UFO movement. They used to have meetings there up at the airstrip by the big rock, where they'd be like hundreds of people would show up there. This is back in the early 70s and stuff. And so it was a huge movement that went on back then. And it's a fascinating place to go. And I think it's kind of like the underreported story. Like a lot of people that don't know about George Van Tassel or his story, which is just really interesting. So that bottom floor of the
probably by design, because if people found out about him, it kind of opens up a can of worms to ask like a bunch of questions. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, they probably don't want people asking those questions.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I had a good time there. My wife took a animal communication course in Desert Palm Springs. It was like 4 days or something like that. So I played tourist. So I went I went out to Indian Springs and I rode a horse, and then I went up to Landers to the Integratron and just played tours. Went to Joshua Tree, the park there, which is
Okay, cool.
off the charts beautiful. It's like being on a different planet. Have you been out to the park, Joshua Tree Park?
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, when I was growing up, I hated the desert. Like, I was like, why do people want to go? Because I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's like oceans and mountains and trees and like it's beautiful in a different way. So
yeah,
I never liked the desert. Now that I'm older, I can see and appreciate,
yeah.
the beauty of the desert. And
Right.
yeah,
It's very interesting that area down there too, and even extending hundreds of miles east, south, and west and north. I mean, it's littered with military bases, all kinds of like secret bases. There, Area 51's not too far away, and all going all the way over to Dulce. That whole American Southwest region is just there's something about it. The underground facilities, the skunk works, and all that stuff, and like I don't know. I just feel like as time goes on, we're going to learn more and more about why that's such a part of it's just the population density, because once you get away from the LA basin area, then the population density goes way down. I mean, you can go out into some of these desert areas, you could drive for miles and not see another car or
I do
anybody
think
out there.
I think the energy of California and Nevada and New Mexico, in Mexico itself too,
Yeah,
is probably a big part of it. Not just the location, but I think there's a reason why people are centrally located in Southern California. Um, and like I've shared with you before, I've seen several crafts, throughout my life. Even like last year, I saw like the triangle, like the Dorito shaped one.
oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, yeah. So you just see like if you're aware, and I'm a spiritual person, so I can kind of, if you just look up in the sky, sometimes you'll see something like, what is that? And it's usually you're gonna see something, but because there's so much activity going on here. And
right.
even on the news in the past couple of years, they've had, UFO encounters on the news where, those weird, what were those things that, they were like missiles or something? I don't know.
Oh well,
What-
they had that one, that the Aegis missile test that was seen all over the West Coast. That was
Yeah,
back in it was on a Saturday. I think it was in November, and I remember this distinctly because Jennifer was out on the front yard screaming, and my wife does not scream unless one of our dogs gets hurt or something like that. She don't scream, and she was out there screaming on the front lawn, and this thing looked like it was going to land in the field next to where we live, but it was down in Southern California, and it was an Aegis missile that got shot off, and it was in the early evening. So they said the reason it was lit up so crazy was because of the altitude and the sun was still shining on it. At the time, it didn't look anything like a missile. I spoke to a Navy guy later who I showed him the video, and he said, "I don't think that's an Aegis missiles. I've seen these things shot off a lot," but that's what the official story was. But there was people all over the coast, especially down your way, that saw this thing.
I missed it. I didn't see that.
Oh, okay.
I've seen others. I've seen other, I've had other sightings, but I didn't see that one.
Okay. I want to say November 7th, 2016, but I may be wrong. But anyway, yeah, it's an interesting area, and I would like to go back. I would like to go back there under more relaxed circumstances, because the contact in the desert for me was just like we were talking about it earlier. It was like a whirlwind. I was down there 3 days. It was just like information overload. All these people that I hadn't seen for a while, new people that I got to spend time with, and now we've got this whole thing with everybody outing each other, and the disinformation this, disinformation that. And it's like I'm trying to counsel others and myself too, not to get too caught up into it, and just say,
Yeah.
let's just let this thing play out. You don't need to go rush into anyone's defense or cast, or judging the accusers or vice versa. Just let it play out, and reserve judgment. We're so early into this game. It's okay not to. It's okay to wait. I guess that's what
Well,
I'm
I
saying.
think because I'm kind of new to the whole truthier disclosure movement, so I can kind of step back, and I'm not as involved, and I don't have a lot invested. So I observe a lot, and it just seems like so many people want to make their mark and be like, I have the breaking news of like this person is, it's more about that than actually, that's just my opinion of things like being factual, because everybody wants to be like the first person to say something's going to happen, or the first person to like disclose some new information, when a lot of times it's just people talking a lot of BS and it's not really accurate. You know what I'm saying? Like either they're being emotional or they're being judgmental, or they're wanting like an ego thing of like, I have something, information that other people don't have. So yeah, I've kind of just stepped back and just really observe more, because
Yeah.
I just can't keep up. Not with, everything is so polarized right now. I can't have that in addition to like the real life stuff that I have going on that's extremely polarized. It just doesn't.
Right.
It would have me so stressed out and so in a like a bad place that I can't afford to be there.
Right. Yoga's good for that, huh?
Yoga's good for that. I also found the same thing with, speaking of disclosure, the whole pedogate and Pizzagate. That just like in the beginning, I was like, rah rah rah, like we have to like let this information get out, especially when Hillary was running and the stuff was coming out about Podesta and all of that.
Yeah.
And the more that I kept seeing these stories and like the pictures of like these kids, and like it's so dark and it's so bad for you, like in my opinion, to constantly be in that space where you're trying to like put this information out. I think it's really bad for your health. I can't be there with people who are constantly like talking about pornography, child pornography at that, the abuse of kids, and I don't know, I don't know if it's real. I know that those things happen, and because I've been in the system, but I didn't have any bad experiences in the system. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know it definitely happens, and I know that there are more kids missing now than at any time that I can remember. Because when I was growing up, we just ran around and did whatever. Like, nobody worried about us. And then all of a sudden, kids start showing up on milk cartons, and like now, it's just ridiculous. Like the number of kids that are missing. I don't know where you find like a balance between getting the information out there and then it becoming like an obsession and you becoming as bad as a message that you're, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I know exactly what you're saying. And and that's why when I decided to do my YouTube channel, I tried to figure out like, well, what's the mission? What are you trying to do here? And you just want to be another, disclosure guy, or what? So I came up with this thing, reveal and forgive. And I'm sure it's not an original idea with me at all. It was just something that I could attach to, that I felt would serve me and my viewers well over the long term. And it especially applies to the Pizzagate issue and the whole satanic ritual abuse and child sacrifice and child sex and all this kind of stuff. Is that it is a part of the human experience, and unfortunately it's been a big feature of the ruling elite and part of their religious practices, for lack of a better term, and their methodology for controlling the rest of humankind. And it all goes back to farming humans and this whole idea. And so we need to reveal it, but we need to reveal it in a way that we don't get caught up into it, or let our consciousness be used as a tool for making more of it real. So it goes back to, let's reveal it, let's acknowledge it, and then we need to go to forgiving the perpetrators. Because if you want to stop something from happening, you heal. Yeah, the victims are important; they need to be healed, but it doesn't stop until you heal the perpetrators.
Right?
Yeah, because they have a reason of compulsion and addiction for doing this kind of thing, and most of them, deep down in their core, don't want to be there, because it has never.
I believe that too. Like,
it's never served them as a path to freedom.
Like, I can't see how they feel like good about themselves, or you know what I'm saying? Like, how would they feel good? Like, it's not a place I would want to be. Like, so when people are like, even like, especially, I feel really bad for like entertainers, because some of these entertainers, their parents put them in the industry, and they were introduced to this darkness at a young age. So yeah, they're doing like Beyonce or Madonna, or you know what I'm saying, or Michael Jackson or somebody like that. They get on drugs and stuff, and it's like, yeah, what they're doing is wrong, and they're influencing like generations of people to do this bad stuff. But what's their story like? They were beat and molested and had all of this bad stuff happen to them so that they could fill this role. So instead of us like judging them or like being, so negative, why don't we like try to find like some humanness in them, and some compassion for their, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. They weren't created differently than us.
right. They just
Right?
happened to be born into a situation where they were put, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I was born into a situation where I could be on, you know what I'm saying? I could be in the streets and on drugs now.
Right.
And I could always still, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what my path is going to
Right.
play out to be. I just feel like there's so much judgment and so much darkness in the
Right.
you know, the disclosure movement, which I guess there has to be, but there has to be a point where you balance it out, and it has to.
Yeah. It's like I liken it to birth pangs. You know, there's a lot of pain and suffering that comes before
Right.
the joy of holding your new creation. So it's not, you know, if something new and beautiful is going to be born, it's unreasonable to expect that to be just this smooth sailing. You know, there's going to be some pain and some what do you call it? Like some, you know, the self-reflection. You know, looking back at ourselves and who we are and what we've been. Sometimes is not a very pleasant thing to have to do, but if we stick with it and do it for ourselves and also for others, you know, good things can come out of that. It could be a painful process, and I think it is a painful process, but it doesn't mean that it's not worth it. You know, I think it's a worthwhile endeavor, and that same thing applies to all of this and these people who've been running us. You know, and they should be given an opportunity to heal. You know, if they decline the opportunity to heal, then that's where, you know, the removal part of it needs to be done with care and love and certainty, because it is going to stop. It is going to stop.
So, are you a follower of the Law of One?
Yes, I am, and I've used that a little bit, but not as much as I have the Course of Miracles and the whole concept of forgiveness. That's where I learned about forgiveness. I don't think either of those sources are entirely 100% true, but there's some very valuable lessons that can be gained through both of those sources. And what I feel like I'm learning right now is to trust my intuition and my own heart, and to be you know, more loving of myself, because that enables me to be more loving of others, and then that seems to be the truth that's going to push all this forward. You know, is try to withhold judgment and increase love, because that's going to rule the day. In the final analysis, that's what's going to really change things for everyone. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah, forgiveness is like, that's something, just because of my background, it's something that I've always struggled with, and I think it's good that you mentioned that, like the disclose and forgive, because the forgive part that's where your own self-work, you know, comes in. Like, where are you really at spiritually if you can truly forgive? And I can be honest, like, I have a hard time forgiving. Like, it's the most difficult thing to do for me, is to forgive, and then have, like, it's not the act of forgiving. I think it's the boundary that comes with forgiveness, because you can't just forgive and be like, oh, it's okay, just do whatever you want. There has to be, like, forgiveness with, like, a boundary. So I think, like, when you look at, like, the Pizzagate situation or Pedogate, or, like, you know, emotional abuse, or if you come from an abusive environment, like, finding that balance where you forgive, but you set, like, a fine line, like, you can't go back to where you were.
Right.
So, like, that's kind of the thing that I've struggled with in forgiveness. And I think, like, seeing the whole Pedogate and Pizzagate stuff, it kind of brought up my own darkness of, like, how I knew, because I was looking at these people, like, judging all these perpetrators, and knowing that these people are, like, horrible, disgusting people from you know, because of things that they did, but they still deserve to be forgiven. And then I'm looking at, like, my own family members, and I'm still, like, struggling to, like, forgive and deal with them. So it kind of brought up my own stuff of, like,
right,
what I need to work on. So I don't really have an answer to that, but I just think, like, for me to want to participate in it, it can't be so judgmental and dark and such, like, a religion, the religion of disclosure, or the religion of
right. Or just
spiritism.
Consuming all that information about, like, oh, you know, here's another picture of a cooked kid, or somebody who was, you know what I mean? You can't, if you're feeding your consciousness with all that stuff, it doesn't really promote anything other than the perpetuation of it. Because what you know, whatever you focus on is generally what you're going to get more of.
Well,
right?
How are you any different from any other child, you know, pornography person? If you're looking at child porn as part of disclosure, I mean, you're part of the problem. You
Right.
can't look at that stuff and not be a perpetrator. So
Right.
at a certain point, you have to acknowledge, okay, I know this exists, but I'm not gonna like bring it
Right.
into my consciousness every single day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Right. You need to progress to the next step, which is the perpetrator trying to understand their situation, their motivations, and the causes for this behavior, and then in your own way, you try to develop a forgiveness. And I think that's very unique for all of us, and it should be very unique for all of us, because if it was some kind of a cookie cutter approach, I think it's just makes it more vulnerable for misdirection and abuse. So we all find our own peculiar ways to deal with that, to with the intent of curing the perpetrator, because that's where it stops. Then you don't have to put that person, you don't have to incarcerate or kill that person to make the activity stop, because they're going to stop of their own free will. And that's what this is about. I mean, that to me, that's what the ETs are doing with this too. The good ETs, they're respecting our free will by staying out of it. And so the interaction that we get with ETs, that comes in the kind of more in the concrete way, is actually not to our benefit, because they are messing with our free will. So, so this, to me, this is all about taking our power back, and that's why I wanted to do this interview with you, because I thought you were a good example of someone who was accepting the power that you have for your own life, and as a good example to other people. Not that you're special or better or anything like that. It's just that when we encounter people in our life that are being authentic and being genuine, they should be supported and loved.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's when I become fearful of anything, is always of my own power.
Yeah,
And
because
so,
we're trained not to trust it,
yeah.
right?
And I think it got, like, when I was younger, I would just go and just like accomplish stuff. And then I don't know what happened. Like when I got like 35, 40, I started being more reserved in like how I use my power or energy. And even like with the yoga, like it took me 2 years to get through the teacher training program. I was afraid to even get up and like mentor and like do like part of a class. And now I've had so much success, and I just don't understand, like, I guess wherever your fear is, that's where your power is. At least that's been my story. Like, the things that I've been so afraid to do or just to step up is usually where I have like the most power. And even like now, still in the yoga community, but I'm a plus size woman, curvy, whatever you want to call. So I've been fat shamed and went through like a lot of negativity, as far as that's concerned. But on the flip side of that, now I'm in a position to like empower other people, and we're actually offering classes where it's more targeted, like yoga audience of people who like, they look at me and they see me as like a normal person. Like they wouldn't think that I do the yoga that I do, but I'm more engaging because I just look like a normal person. And I think when you get into those stereotypical, like you're skinny, you have this certain type of body, you're vegan, you know what I'm saying? Like I think you exclude a wide, like everybody else who isn't that, because most people aren't that. And I think when you open the doors and make it more acceptable for people to just be themselves, when you're being yourself, you make it easier for other people to be themselves, and you heal and you help them heal. And I think it's like, that's the cycle that I like to be a part of.
Right.
So I can't be part of like Pedalgate and too much in the disclosure. I think my contribution would just be being my authentic self and sharing my own story.
Right. That's really what we want. We want that to go viral.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I think, no, seriously, I think people look at themselves and like, oh, it's just me and I can't do anything. The most important thing that you could do is show up as the best version of yourself and to stand in your power in a way that's authentic, not in a way where you're resistant or in a way where you're like stepping on somebody else's toes or taking their free will. Just stand and, be yourself and just learn to love yourself. That's like the most controversial thing you could do in today's society.
Right. It's the most contagious too. Because like you say, you people see that and they go, oh, I could do that too. I could be myself, and they just drop the fear around being yourself. And then there's this thing that I think James Van Praagh said. It says, what you think of me is none of my business.
Right.
And that.
But I went through like a whole told you, I was raised, I don't know if we talked about it since we've been live, but I was raised Jehovah's Witness, and that's all judgment. Like, everything is wrong. And, like, so I went through, like, so many years of, like, judging myself for, like, having sex or, you know, like, 'cause everything is wrong. And so it's like, I had to really deprogram myself, just say, like, okay, it's normal to have sex, or it's normal to, like, want to go out and have fun with people who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's like, I think that experience of being judged so extremely kind of made me more, I don't know, more empowered or more rebellious to just want to be myself and not want to be like other people.
Right.
I don't know. And it's not like I'm doing anything. My life is pretty boring, actually. But I'm just me, and I just, you know, I think if more people just felt comfortable being themselves, and it's not like I could lose weight. Like, it's not like I'm at a healthy weight. I could, you know, improve my diet. I could definitely improve my finances. So I have a lot of stuff that I need to work on, and I acknowledge that stuff, and I'm okay with it. And then every day I'll just try to do something that makes things a little bit better, and try not to be so extreme with it.
Right.
And then that way it's sustainable, and it's not like a fad, or, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's kind of how I try to just, like, every day do something a little bit better.
Right.
Or maybe not every day, once a week, or, you know what I'm saying? Just slowly improve.
Yeah, and then also what you said earlier too, and I think it's well, it's true for everyone, but probably especially for women, especially with women and families, is that you know, it's okay to take care of yourself.
Yes.
Do the things that you need to take care of yourself, so that you can be of some use to others. You know, when the time comes, and not be such a fixer. You know, because it's draining, and actually it doesn't really help people. That kind of energy doesn't really help people. It's more along the line of being codependent and stuff. So, like, you know, I mean, that's a great message, to take care of yourself, do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And then it just makes it easier to be of real assistance to other people once you've done that,
Yeah.
you know.
I think because I, like, with myself, because I told you, you know, when I became a yoga teacher, I just went, like, full force. So I was teaching, like, 15 classes a week or 10 classes a week in addition to, like, my full-time job. And I just noticed the energy that I brought into classes was not where I wanted to be. And it's because I was just tired. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like so much the quantity or the quality of classes, it's the quality of the classes.
Right, right.
Not the quantity, the quality. So I had a bunch of stuff going on, but none of it was, like, really high quality or the quality where I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So, like, now I want to focus on doing less classes, but maybe make the classes longer. And then so that I could, like, build relationships with people and just have time to, like, talk after class, or if they have questions, or, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, with Ashtanga, it is a spiritual practice. So there's, you know, you could do mantras and breath work, but, like, the way our classes are set up now, it's an hour and a half, and you have, like, all these poses you need to go through, and it's only focused on the physical part of the 8 limbs. The asana is not focused on all the other stuff. So, like, now the studio is more open to me, like, bringing in some of the spiritual practices and some of the breath work, which I'm really excited about. And in addition, doing, like, some of the bowls.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so we're, like, working on my new schedule now. I'm really excited because I was messaging the owner yesterday, so we're coming up with names of new classes that I get to do. And then I'm going to try to do a sound bath, like, once a month at that studio.
With your bowls?
With my bowls, yeah.
Yeah? And how many do you have now?
I have 6. I had to give my daughter one because she's like, oh, you're doing that now. Well, I need a bowl too, so I had to give her one of my bowls. So there's always that.
So do you have so I guess in the bowls there's what is it? The note A at there's a natural music scale, and there's the imposed music scale as it relates to the hertz for note A being, what is it, 340 hertz, or do you know about that? About because they have the bowls and the certain musical note that corresponds with the chakras, right? And then there's sets of bowls that you can get that are tuned for the traditional, like, concert tuning, which is, I think, 440 or something like that. I can't remember.
I think they all have a range, because each bowl, like, depending on how you play them and how much pressure, they'll go within a certain range, and I don't know all the details on that. But it is definitely targeting a chakra, you know.
Yeah.
So I have one for each chakra except for one. I'm missing one. I can't remember the name of it. Which chakra? But Yeah.
I got to tell you, when I was in Shasta, there's when I used to live up there in '97, and there was like one crystal store, and it was kind of like now there's like four crystal stores. It's really touristy now. These people got it dialed in. These stores are like really beautiful, and there's this one there that sells crystal bowls, and they have a huge inventory, and they have a room back in the back where you can go in there. It's a room set up for the sound quality of the room, and you can play the bowls in there and stuff. And I went in there, and it was during the summer conference, Rob Potter Summer Conference in late August 2016. I think, was that when I went in there? Yeah, I think that's when I went in there. And there was a rose quartz bowl there, F sharp, which is a heart chakra. I played that thing, and I almost went into tears. I could not believe. I always thought like, oh yeah, sound healing, that's cool. And I just kind of like, I never really gave it much thought, like, is this for real or whatever. And I got in there and I played that thing, and I could not believe it. Look, took over my freaking body, and I had tears coming down to my face. And I was like, holy shit. And I wanted to buy that thing so bad, and there was no way. It was like $1,400 or something. But it was rose quartz. It was this pink colored, and it wasn't very big. It was about maybe, I don't know, 8 inches diameter, maybe about 10 inches tall, and not very beautiful or anything. It was just, it was kind of a mottled, kind of a pinkish red, And I took it into the room. I said, well, I can't buy it. So I had all my video recording gear, So I took my little Zoom H4 in there, and I recorded the sound. But I had the sound settings wrong, so it was just distorting. But the sustain on this thing, I think, was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you'd ring that thing, and you had it on a good bass. It would ring for over 2 minutes, and I was like, holy shit! I could not believe it.
Yeah,
that was such a discovery for me.
I played, as I played them, and even teaching yoga, because everything has a vibration, and essential oils, because I like to do kind of like crystals, oils, yoga, and the bowls. What I've noticed, especially with the bowls, is some people have a negative reaction because they can't handle the frequency. Like some people get like migraines.
Oh, really?
Or yeah, it's like some people have. It isn't always like positive. So certain people can't handle it's extremely intense. And it vibrates through your entire, it makes, I guess, the water in your body, or,
right.
I don't know what vibrates, but it's probably the water, because we're water. They can't handle, like, I've had people have, like, oh, it hurts my head, or they can't handle, like, the frequency of it.
Wow. So how's the acoustics in the classroom where you would be using these? Is it okay?
We have really good acoustics. Yeah, we have, like, domed, we have, like, a vaulted ceiling, and the acoustics are pretty good.
Oh, cool. And have you done a class with the bowls yet?
Oh, yeah, I've done several.
Oh, okay.
I haven't done, like, an official sound bath, but I've done several, like, a bunch of classes with the bowls. Oh, cool. And then, like, my friends will get together and be like, bring your bowls, and we all do, like, share the bowls, and we do our little ceremonies or whatever we're doing. So, yeah, the bowls get a lot of play.
So, and so you have the cases and everything to carry them around and all that?
I don't have cases yet.
Ooh, that's scary, huh?
Yeah, I just have the style, so I've researched, I just haven't had the chance to buy the cases. I guess I should get on that, add that to my list.
Yeah, especially if you're carting them back and forth from home to
I only want to do a sound bath like once a month right now, just because my schedule is kind of all over the place. And as I build my collection of bowls and I get, better at it, because I still follow, there's a couple of people that I follow that are really into it. So the people who did that first sound bath at the Salt Oasis, the Salt Cave, I have a pretty good relationship with them. And then I'm building a relationship with another lady that I met on Facebook. Her name is Mari Fix, I think. And she just did this Japanese tree meditation. I know there's a formal name for it, but you go on like a hike, but it's a slow hike, and you stop and you kind of like bathe in like nature. And then after that, she did a sound bath. So she's like pretty big. She studied in Tel Aviv and somewhere else in Europe, all, acoustics and sound and all of that. So she's pretty deep into it. So I'm trying to like mentor with them, kind of sneak in like a little mentorship, unofficial. But
so do you think people are more susceptible or open to the whole sound technologies or the sound healing modalities with the different frequencies that are coming in on the earth now? Do you think there's more people that are like receptive to this whole idea of using those
You,
kinds of
when
things for
you start learning about like sound from a metaphysical standpoint, because we're talking about metaphysics here, and you look at like music and like what they've done in the music industry, and I'm from the '80s, so I grew up with like rap music and hip hop, and I'm like from that whole genre of music.
Right.
Um, I think people are more susceptible to sound healing because they've always, unconsciously participated in some type of sound manipulation. They just like it. They like the way majority of the people like it. Some people have negative, but they just think of it as like something that they like. They don't know why they like it.
Right. Yeah, because I was trying to come up with an explanation for my reaction to that crystal bowl. It's like, well, how come you never had this experience before? And now that you point that out, well, maybe I did. It just wasn't. I just didn't put it in the same category. I never made the connection. Because when I was young, I used to play instruments, and I was a big, as a teenager, man, I was always buying the albums and putting the headsets on and smoke a little and just woo. I'd take off. I'd be gone.
And the other thing that's weird now, since we're talking about that, because my son is like 13, he'll be 14 Thursday. My birthday's Wednesday.
All right, happy birthday.
Thank you. So he's into music.
You Gemini? Is that Gemini then? No.
Gemini.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So go ahead. Your son?
So my son is into. I didn't know this. I just found out that he's selling like beats to people. So he's like on his computer making like music and like trying to sell it. That's like his little side hustle. And then for me to be like getting into like bowls and stuff, and it's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a Gemini, and me and my son are like yin and yang because his birthday is like the day after mine. I'm a woman, he's a guy, and he's into music. I'm into music. It's like, it's really like our relationship is really weird because like I hurt my back, he hurt his back. Like when he gets sick, I get sick. Like we have like this really weird, it's extremely weird relation. I guess it's like an energetic connection. I don't know.
You should do a past life regression.
I have done one
with him. So where did he show up?
He didn't show up. My father showed up 3 times. So I've had 3 times. Yeah, I've had the same father for 3 lives.
But your son's probably not new to you.
He must not be. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the first thing that came to my mind was when you started saying that the connections there are so strong in this incarnation. Something else going on.
Okay, and so the other part of that is because my son and daughter have different fathers. So my daughter's father and my son's father, their birthdays are 2 days apart. Isn't that freaky? And my daughter's a Gemini too. So I'm a Gemini, my son's a Gemini, and my daughter's a Gemini, and both their fathers are Virgos. It's kind of freaky. I get like a lot of synchronicities and like really extremely freaky synchronicities. But that's like the biggest one.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So the next thing I think I was like, it'd be really cool to see those 3 natal charts next to each other. It's deep. It's a whole different interview.
Yeah. No, seriously.
All right.
And like another weird one is like this whole yoga thing. So like I started going to this yoga studio, whatever, and I started their yoga teacher training program. In the middle of me doing that, I started seeing this Ayurveda doctor. Well, it turns out she used to work for the same yoga studio when they first opened. And now I'm in teacher training. It's like weird stuff like that. Like, what's the odds of me like looking through the yellow pages and finding this lady who's an Ayurveda doctor, but she used to work at the same yoga studio where I'm now becoming a teacher? I don't know. Just like stuff like that happens to me all the time.
Gemini.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do some astrology. I've always been interested in it. I used to cast natal charts before computers, so I had to do it all manually.
Oh wow!
And I was 16, or I guess, but my moon is right at the top of the chart, the natal chart, and it's in Gemini. So
okay.
Anyway, well, I'm really glad we did this.
Me too.
And it makes me want to come down and take a yoga class.
Yeah, I'll
But
just give you an update when I do my first official sound bath.
all right, that would be fun. Yeah. And I do yoga almost every day. I do a little bit qigong every day, and I have this little routine I do, especially if it's outside, sunny and warm. I love to go out, and I have this army cot that's out there, and the reason I love it is because I don't have to worry about mats and stuff because I have for whatever reason, like when I do downward dog, my hands slip, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much grip. It doesn't seem like I could never found a mat where I have the good grip to do a downward dog. So I get on the army cot and I can grab onto the side rails and I can do a nice deep downward dog and I can do all these other things and hold on to the army cot and I feel really like stable and I like the surface of the army cot, you know. So I have this old routine and I swear I think I mentioned this to you. I'm going to do the video and it's going to be like I hope to be a humorous video, right? Of me doing this routine on the army cot, you know, which is very, it's like a bastard. It's kind of like an insult to yoga in a way, but
Well,
it's
you know
all
what? I think now yoga is changing where we're more acceptable because I'm doing as part of teaching, I have to constantly like stay on top of what's going on. A lot of people can't do traditional down dog. So you have to be able to modify it. And sometimes it's against the wall, sometimes it's against a table, sometimes you use blocks and you take, have them
right,
put the heels of their hands against
right,
the block.
yeah,
Sometimes you take a towel and put your hands on towels so you don't slide.
yeah,
So there's some tricks.
right,
But I think that's part of like making yoga available and accessible
right,
to everyone. So even though I do like a traditional Ashtanga practice where you use absolutely no props and
right,
it's 2 hours and it's intense, I don't have, most people don't want to practice like that.
yeah,
So to make it accessible and make it more about the breath and movement and less about ego stuff. Use a prop. Like, it's fine. What's wrong with it?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
hopefully more people are going to get out of this mindset where you have to look perfect in a pose and you have to, it's all about the Instagram post and looking sexy, which is important. Like, I'm not hating because I like to look cute, sometimes, but it's like,
well,
make
it's
it where, everyone can do, participate in it.
right, right, yeah,
So I
because
think it's
once you
amazing
start
that
once
you
you start
found the
experiencing
practice.
your body like that, it's pretty cool because it
Yeah.
opens up new
Yeah.
doors and stuff, and it's very good for just calming and balancing. And if you ever met my mother and start talking to her about yoga, get out of the way because that she will run you over. She started in 1965, and it changed her life.
Where's your
And
mom?
huh?
Where did she live?
She lives like 4.5 miles away. She's 80 years old.
You're in Northern California?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, up by Santa Rosa,
Oh,
Petaluma,
okay.
that area. And yeah, she loves it. She talks about it all the time. So but that again, we're starting to delve into other areas where we could have a whole nother interview. So,
Right.
but anyway, this has been a joy. And I'm so glad I got to meet
Enjoyed
you
it.
like this. And then maybe we could follow up sometime when you delve into like your new class schedule, or you have um, or maybe you could give us a video snippet of your class or something.
I would love that.
That would
Maybe
be
I'll
cool.
do maybe when I do the sound bowl, I'll do like part of that and then maybe part of my Ashtanga, which is like Ashtanga is like my baby, like the sound bowls and all that kind of stuff, but I love Ashtanga, the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga. So maybe I'll do like
Okay.
a little video of both of those.
All right. That'd be cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah, and thank you. And thanks for
Okay.
everybody for watching. We'll be
Thank
back.
you.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.